At the time I'm filming this, Julian Assange is on a plane back to Australia and he's free at last. Everyone's heard of Julian Assange, but not many people know the details of the issue, so I'll do a quick recap for those that don't. Apologies that we're vertical, not horizontal. I initially thought that I'd get this in under 60 seconds and make it a YouTube short, but that's not going to happen. So it's vertical. I'll post it on Instagram as well in full, but WikiLeaks was founded in 2006 and reached international fame or acclaim or infamy in 2010 when it published leaks from a woman named Chelsea Manning, who was in the American military. Those leaks involved, but were not limited to, a video of Americans killing civilians and committing war crimes and whatnot. He also leaked a whole bunch of homosexuals in Saudi Arabia and informants in Afghanistan. It wasn't just the bad guys that he was revealing, if that makes sense. So it was a very 50-50 conflicting sort of thing, but that's why America's been going after him since 2010, was because he put a whole bunch of American lives at risk as a result of American actions that he thought were, should be in the public domain and that everyone should be aware of. About 6 months after the release of that information, he was charged with sex offences in Sweden, but they've since been dropped, so I won't be talking about them in this short. In about 2012, he went into the Ecuadorian embassy fearing that he was going to be extradited either to Sweden, but more specifically to America on espionage charges. He lived for a bunch of years in the Ecuadorian embassy until in April of 2019, they forcibly removed him from said embassy under the guise that he wouldn't be extradited, but he would have to go through a criminal proceeding. A month later, it was determined that he would be extradited to the US and, he was up shit creek without a paddle. Long, boring story of establishing whether he was allowed to appeal or be extradited, blah, 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 as well as COVID, ramifications and stuff, moving him around and stuff. This week, it's been determined, or he's signed an agreement where he's pled guilty to one act under the Espionage Act, and he's being extradited back home to Australia rather than America, where he might have faced the death penalty. So he's not innocent, he's pled guilty, and I'm more than certain that they'll kill him somehow, he'll either commit the S word, or he'll have a heart attack, or whatever. I'm sure he'll die within the next few years. But it's an interesting one. He's not a hero, he's done some dodgy stuff, but he's also definitely not the villain that he was painted out to be 10, 15 years ago. So it's really interesting to me to see how the next 6 months, 12 months, how his life plays out now that he's coming back home to Australia. So yeah, as I said at the start, I don't really know how I feel about Julian Assange, because it's unquestionable. He's definitely the reason that a lot of good people are dead in the Middle East, and a lot of people that we worked with in good faith got fucked over. But he also should not have faced the ramifications for releasing that information to the public over the last decade and a half. Journalism is a thing. Obviously, journalism needs to have standards, but the punishment for not living up to those standards has been far and away absolutely ridiculous when it comes to Julian Assange. So it's good to see the man come home, but I am wary of being seen as an Assange supporter.